David, so good to be chatting with you, dude. We had a few minutes beforehand. I always, screw that. Half the time I get it right, half the time I don't. Hey, I'll hit record before we even start chatting. We can cut it up. And then we're sitting here and we're just jiving. And I'm like, oh, I should probably be recording this. But
man,
it's all
good.
Hey,
we had some gold in there. I'm just going to let the audience know, listeners, we were solving some world problems there. We had some groundbreaking stuff we talked about, but it'll never be heard. Yeah. And I can't remember what we were talking about, so too bad. No, sorry, it's a blessing to be on here, man. I just wanted to thank you for this amazing opportunity to be with you. You're a friend, becoming a good friend who I've never met in person. I feel like that is becoming more common these days. But yeah, until we meet in person.
It's the plight of the pandemic. Mm-hmm. I would say there's probably been numerous opportunities, and it feels like this whole idea of what does in person mean today in 2021 and beyond has been difficult. But I'm so glad to be chatting with you and appreciative of our friend Jordan Montgomery who introduced us, and you've gotten connected with our buddy Colin and a few others. It's creating this little community. It's like, man, how do we spend more time together? And one of the things that I think is imperative, and I want to use this as kind of a launching spot, because I know that you're a connector and that you love to connect. We have a lot of mutual connections to, back to Brad Lomenick and so forth and so on. But one of the things that I realize, connections are best grounded by values. I wanted to see what your take on that was. When you think about making connections, and we could even get into the Golden 15, I'll let you kind of take off with that one, how it fits, but would love to know about this idea of connections and how important it is in your life.
Oh, man, I love this question. And connections is literally everything, because that relationships are everything. And now, it sounds great, I'm going to connect such and such with such and such. And actually in Breakthrough, I have a connection calculator, a tool that I developed to be able to funnel these connections to make sure they match. Now, I'm not going to connect you with somebody that doesn't make any sense in your field, doesn't have the same values, isn't close to a similar type of level that it might be. It just doesn't make sense. And we only have a certain amount of time. That is the one resource you can never get back. And it's almost become, this is going to sound really bad, but like a pet peeve of mine when a friend will connect me with somebody without asking me first, and when it just doesn't make sense. And now I'm like, man, now I got to give this time. And I'm sure the person's a great person, but right now I want to spend my time keeping the most important and giving it to my wife in my free time, not making a new connection that I don't even feel like I have enough bandwidth for. So really being intentional with who you're connecting and who you're putting together, because it is a reflection of yourself too. Now, I love connecting people, love it. Not for the basis of, hey, look at me, I made this connection, but the things that they create together is where the gold is. And it reaches so many more people than just solo yourself. And I make great connections if people do podcasts or start businesses together. And I just get to sit back there in the background and just smile. I'm like, yes. Kind of patting myself on the back, hey, this happened because of me. But there is an art. There's an absolute art for connecting people together and understanding, first funnel it through, does this make sense in their value system? That's number one. Does it make sense? Are they on the same similar type of mission where they can help each other? Because if it's one-sided, it's not going to work. Then also, are they similar type of influential levels? I know that sounds kind of weird to say, but I'm not going to introduce someone who's just new in the podcasting game or new in the speaking game to an Ed Milet. No matter what, it just doesn't make sense. But yet people will ask me, everybody will ask me, hey, can I meet Ed? Can I meet Ed? I can't do it. Sorry, I can't do it. There'll come a time, but keep working. Put in your 10 years. Yeah. And I'm sure you deal with that as well. But yeah, connections and relationships are everything. You just have to make sure that you're really funneling the right people with the right people. And it's almost like you become a personal dating app, I'm a personal dating app for friends. I love seeing friends get together, but only if it makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I get it. I appreciate it. That's something that I've enjoyed about you, and again, a few of the other guys had mentioned there in this conversation. But let's kind of take a step back, and for those listening in that maybe haven't had a chance to listen to your podcast, Pivot and Go, or read your book, Pivot and Go, this podcast is launching right at the point that your newest book, your latest book, Breakthrough, is going to be available and live. Excited for that. But go back and kind of bring everyone up to speed. Who is David Nurse? Why is David Nurse? And, this journey that you've been on, just a quick little snippet there so people can kind of get their arms around David as we go in and talk about this other stuff.
Sure, yeah. And I'm going to give you the quick version because I could go for a long time on it. But basically the quick version is I grew up in little middle of nowhere cornfields of Iowa. And I wanted to play in the NBA. That was my dream. I still sometimes think that I can play in the NBA, but at 6'2", not that vertically gifted at all, could never dunk. Probably would be better served to play tennis or golf. My parents should have told me that, but they were supportive. Now let's fast forward. I still went all in, no backup plan, grinding my way to play college basketball, playing overseas professionally. Sounds really cool to say, more like the Will Ferrell semi-pro type of league, a joke of a league than it is actual basketball. Here I am still thinking, I'm close to the NBA. I'm in. Wait, not even close at all. I get cut from a second division team, joke of a league, and all my hopes and goals and dreams, everything I had turned upside down, face rubbed in the dirt. Back in my parents' recliner, living on their couch, or living literally on the recliner, kicked back at this time. I've been there for about 6 months, and my mom would always say these motivational and inspirational quotes, and usually like, whatever, Mom, in one ear, out the other ear, whatever. But she said this one that really stuck with me. I remember vividly. She was doing dishes. She said, David, when one door closes, 4 open in an entire beachfront patio overlooking the ocean. And it hit me like that. That is what I was living in. All this that had poured into playing in the NBA was actually to coach and actually use all this knowledge that I had been able to accumulate and help others, more athletically gifted, 7-footers height, more blessed players to be able to play in the NBA. And I pursued it. I went all in. I'm a big believer of going all in, man. I don't want to 80-20 balance it. If I'm passionate about something, I'm going all in. And let's fast forward 5 years of running basketball camps all over the country and internationally, living out of my car, sleeping in well-lit Walmart parking lots. I get an email from the Brooklyn Nets, and it says, shooting coach. Now, I think it's spam. I almost deleted. I'm over in Australia at the time when I read this. The next week, I'm the shooting coach for the Brooklyn Nets. So I made it, man. I had made it. 28 years old, in the NBA, coaching, life, complete. We have this great comeback year in shooting, going from 28th to 2nd in shooting percentage, three-point shooting percentage. I get all this pub and this hot up-and-coming coach. And then a new coach comes in at the end of the year, and everybody is fired. Again, the door is shut. So I'm feeling bad for myself again. But once again, I realize, I think like this one door closes, 4 open, and it absolutely did. I move out to Los Angeles. This is where I meet my wife. I'm coaching NBA players individually. Now I'm pivoting even more into what I absolutely am passionate about doing, and is speaking, writing books, helping people realize their gift inside them, like I thought mine was playing basketball. Like, you can pursue it. You can go all out, and it's going to lead you to the thing that you're meant to do. We have these God-given gifts inside of us. And the biggest gratitude that we can do, in my opinion, to God is pursue him. If he's going to give you a gift, go all out. Don't just hide it and protect it because you're afraid of what other people might think. You're afraid of your failure. You're afraid of you won't make it. So long story short, from Iowa cornfields to here, I'm overlooking the ocean here in Marina Del Rey. 1 door closes, 4 open, in an entire beachfront patio overlooking the ocean.
I love it. I love it because I can relate, coming from, the Midwest as an Ohio guy that grew up on a farm, and I get it, and now moved around the country and have seen those experiences. But you kind of touch on something there that I think is really important. It's kind of what I've gathered is important in the process of, going through that pivot and go, the process of breakthrough And one of the things that I really gather, and I'm a believer in this too, is that at some point along the way, you embrace the process rather than the highlight. You know, it could be a lot of fun to score 21 points against IUPUI and you know, be super efficient and have these high scoring games. You know, I did my research, man. Okay. And it could be great to have those. But yet, are you going to be in the gym the next day working on your shot? Are you going to be, you know, going through the process to realize the only reason I got to score those is because I was doing the work? So talk to me about being in love and what the process, and as a leader, how important that is for yourself, but also for others.
Oh, I love this, man. And it is so important, is falling in love with the process. And I know we've all heard it, and it can sound cliche, just focus on the process, but literally it is everything. You will never get results if you focus on the results. You have to have a system, knowing who you are, and then the process, your daily habits, which you have to love. Like people say, oh, I'm just grinding, you know, another grind. I loved living out of my car, driving around the country doing basketball camps. Yes, it was a grind, but I enjoyed the grind. I enjoyed the process. And that's what I see with the best NBA players that I work with. It's these guys that absolutely love the unseen hours. They love putting in the work. They just love the process. They love the process of improvement. Yes, they're gifted, but they also love the process. And I'm going to give you a quick example story of how when you focus on the process, results come in far better than you can even imagine. This is a breakthrough, focusing on the process. So a player that I worked with for many years, Norm Powell from UCLA, worked with him in his days at UCLA. He gets drafted to the Raptors in the second round. And for the first 5 years of his career, he's kind of up and down. And he has some good games, and he's the best guy to be around when he has a good game. But when he has a bad game, you don't really want to be around him, because just like players do, they look at the stats and they judge themselves on their performance. So he's going in and out of the lineup and just frustrated. So we just decided, you know what? Like, why don't we try something different? Why don't we quit tracking stats, field goal percentage, points per game? And let's just not even talk about that. No, let's figure out where your best shots are, like where you are your absolute best. We figured out it was catch and shoot three and attacking the rim in transition, like going hard at the rim. Let's count how many times you get those shots. Not how many times they go in, not how many points you score, how many times you get those shots. Okay? So fast forward here, 30 games straight, he does this. 30 games straight, literally all he shoots is those two shots. And we haven't even checked points per game, field goal percentage. He goes from being a off-the-bench player, sometimes in and out of the rotation, to right before the world shut down for COVID in 2020, the Western Conference Player of the Week, the whole Western Conference, was LeBron James. The Eastern Conference Player of the Week was Norm Powell. Norm had made that, he became a big name in the NBA and just signed a $90 million plus contract with the Portland Trail Blazers. That is the power. Sure, he would say, yeah, this is going to come, but he didn't maybe really think that it was going to come. But by focusing on the process, these great results happened. If you focus on the results, they're never going to happen. So you got to fall in love with the process, knowing that when you are on, I like to say, Tyler, I like to say I'm on a mission. I don't have a job. I don't have a career. I'm on a mission. And mission is found by your passion, that grind you're going to fall in love with on a daily basis, the way you wake up juiced up, no matter if it's a long day of doing something, you have that passion. And then with your purpose, that equals mission. So long answer short, fall in love with your process. Do not focus on your results.
Well, I love it. One, because you tie in passion, purpose, into mission. And, for me, I can be a passionate person. It's only recently have I finally been able to conceptualize what my purpose is. And I'll share it for you to understand, the listeners know, is my purpose is to help other leaders get healthy too.
Yes.
Because I had to get healthy. And so my desire is to help other leaders get healthy too. And I think as you put those together, well, then all of a sudden you can have that mission. You're like, oh, great. Why do I do what I do every day? It's to fulfill that. So when I can take my purpose and combine it with my passion, what am I passionate about? And then all of a sudden you're on a mission, man, that to me is starting to be the best you can be. And I know that's something that you've written about as well, is just be the best you. And, when you talk about Norm, that story, it's really the conceptualization. It's like, dude, what are you best at? You can't do what LeBron does. You can't do what Victor Oladipo does. You can't do what Domantas Sabonis does. You can't do what Kelly Olynyk, other players that you've worked with and so forth and so on. You can't do what they do. Don't stop trying to do that. Just do what you do. And when you're confident in that, man, that's when it shows up to bless everyone else around you. And I think as a leader, it's very important for us to recognize that ourselves, but also see that in others. And I see you doing that as you're working with these players, as you're, working with other executives, as you're, writing these books, these, the Pivot and Go and Breakthrough is saying, hey, I had to come to a point where, yeah, I wanted to be out there. I wanted to be the next Kyle Korver. I wanted to be that guy making all the shots and being that person in the NBA. But then what I hear from you is you realize that your great opportunity was to be the guy behind them to help them be what best they could be. Break that down for us, what your thoughts are around all that.
That's beautiful, man. And what that is understanding that you're going to continue to have pivots in your life. You're never just going to be like, hey, this is what I was meant to do from day one. Now, maybe you are. A very rare few do. But a lot of people in that situation, if they would have seen, well, I poured everything into playing in the NBA, and then I didn't even come close, and I was literally a joke of a league that I was actually playing in, like, I'm a failure. It's all over. But no, that is really just preparing me for something better to come. And everything is a preparation for an opportunity to come. We don't know what that gift box is going to look like, and it ends up normally being way better than we can even imagine. So what you hit on there is what I call searching for your eminence. Eminence meaning greatness, and a term to talk about how God is great, in this term eminence. And these gifts that he has given us, which we all have a gift, and we're all just sharpening that gift, man. It's like a marble like statue, but it starts out as just this slate of marble. We have to chisel it and chisel it and chisel it. And that's the fun in it. That's the searching for our eminence. That's what's taking this gift you have been giving, going all out to it, becoming obsessed with it, and it might lead you somewhere else. It might lead you down a different path. Like, you know what the coolest people to me in the world are? Is those people who don't care what other people think, and they're going to go after this gift all out. Like, there's a guy over in Scotland who is the world's best cashmere maker. He's out in the mountains in Scotland, and he's just doing this wool and just the way he does it. But he's the best there is. Like, and that's great. He's finding contentment and joy with this by bringing people joy through these cashmere sweaters. He's just fully in to his eminence. And at the core, like, all of us want to do that. Like, all of us have dreams when we're kids that we want to pursue. But then we're told at some age that, you know what, you should probably just get a normal job. You should probably just try to fit in. You should probably just, you got to make money, or your parents will tell you you got to be a doctor or a lawyer or something. But it just ends our dreams. It ends the gift that we've fully been given. And I think that's one of the greatest gratitudes that we can give. Like, think about this. If let's say I love playing the piano, which I don't, because I don't really know how, but I'd love to start trying. But let's say I love playing the piano, and you give me this majestic, grand piano, beautiful, the sound is just, so good. And I put it in the corner, and I don't play it, because I'm afraid that I might hit the wrong note. I'm afraid that I might mess up. Like, that's the analogy of the lives that we live. You might not know exactly what that purpose is right off the bat, but you can always be pursuing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it's, for me, it was a journey of many years. I mean, I think about the journey that I've been on to where I'm at now. It's like, much like yourself, you want to be this professional basketball player to now you're a podcast host, a coach, an author, and you're kind of like, how did that, all work? I want to take a step back though. And one of the things that I know you speak about sometimes, and we talk about it, you talk about it in Breakthrough, you talk about it a little bit in Pivot and Go, is this idea of confidence and, having self-awareness. I want you to take us on a journey. Okay. You're in college, you're playing basketball. You have these visions of playing in the NBA. You're like, okay, I know I just got to keep working. If you could go back in a snapshot, what was your confidence then?
My confidence then was I could play in the NBA. I literally thought that I could. And here's why. Is because I took my skill set, the one skill that I had was shooting. I was a very good shooter. Wasn't very good at anything else. But I studied the best shooters. So instead of looking at, and I had maybe the blessing, I grew up down the road in Pella, Iowa from Kyle Korver, one of the best shooters in NBA history. But I studied them and I mimicked them and I watched what they did. Instead of getting caught up in comparison, and everybody talks about comparison being a bad thing, I gained a lot of confidence out of comparison. Like even to this day, I'll see my friends like John Gordon or Ed Milet and what they're doing. And instead of feeling like, man, why aren't I giving that many talks? Why don't I have that many followers? I don't think that. Like they can do it, so can I. And so I gained a lot of comparison from seeing people that have already done it. Because there's already been somebody who has done what you want to do. And you're going to do it with your own flavor and your own originality, hopefully. But being able to compare yourself to these people that know you can follow in their footsteps, they've given you the blueprint, they've given you the guide, gives you a lot of confidence.
Okay, so let's continue on that journey. Where was your confidence when you were sitting on that recliner back in Kansas City?
Now, that's a good point. So, okay, it wasn't there. The confidence because I had based everything on, am I a basketball player? That was my identity. Mm-hmm. It literally was, and it's still part of me I'm not trying to shed the identity, but I'll be like, oh, NBA coach. Like that's not my main thing that I do. But at that point, basketball was everything, 100%. That was my identity. And I felt like I had to live up to, David Nurse, basketball player, I've got to do it. Now it's all taken away from me. But until I understood that my identity is not based on any results, it's not based on anything that the world says, it's not based on any of that, but it's fully understanding who I am, who these gifts God's given me, but mainly that I am loved. I am loved by God. I can be fully me. I can be comfortable in my own skin and make everybody else around me feel comfortable in their skin by being so. Because to some extent, we're all putting up some type of mask. We're putting on some type of front where we don't want people to see inside of us. And I know these words like vulnerability is a really hot word to say, and it's like, what does it actually really mean? But it really means bravery, and being brave is being vulnerable, being able to be authentically, genuinely yourself is at the core where confidence comes from. And now I feel this confidence from, it doesn't matter how I perform. Like I tell myself this every day, every time I go up and give a talk, before I step on stage. Like, man, I could just step up here, forget all the words. I could even trip over this chord right here, but it'd be okay because I have God and I have my wife, and that's all I need. I don't need the acceptance or the applause or the identity from anything else.
So to take this a little bit deeper, because I like where we're going, and I like, I appreciate what you're saying, and you're right down the path that I'm agreeing with. If you look at those two instances, right, your high confidence when you're just playing, and you're playing basketball at a level that, hey, I can compete here, to the point where you're like, I don't even know where I'm supposed to be in life. Talk about, if you're willing, your insecurities at those two places. and how that confidence and your insecurity connected, especially when we come and we think about this idea of pivoting, going and breaking through and this whole, envelope of who you are as a person. Where does insecurity, if you look back, fit in there for you?
Oh, man, I was insecure in both spots. When it looked like I was on top of the world and I was the man in college, I was super insecure. When I was broken and felt like the world was crumbling in on me and it had been 5 months of living in my parents' recliner chair, I was super insecure. And yeah, like I wish I wasn't at the time, but I know that I was, and I know that you get over these insecurities by accepting the past for what it is. And if any of you guys have had insecurities, which I'm sure you have, and you might be feeling them right now, accept the past for what it is. You can't change it. You can't go back. You can't live in the past. Just accept it and grow from it. And that's, too, Tyler, where a lot of us we stumble, is because we use the past as an excuse. Oh, I was insecure here. I'm going to be insecure tomorrow. Like, oh, I failed here. I'm going to fail tomorrow. No. Accept the past, learn from it, and be able to grow. And then just literally appreciating the present where you're at, understanding that you're at this spot for a reason and a purpose, meaning this insecurity comes from imposter syndrome. That's basically what insecurity is and what people say that is imposter syndrome. So when you hear the word imposter syndrome, you're feeling like, why me? Why am I here? But flip that on its head. If you're feeling imposter syndrome, think about this. If you're feeling insecure, think about this. That means you're doing something that matters. Like, nobody ever felt imposter syndrome after sitting on the couch for 7 days, or it could be 7 years, for sitting on the couch for 7 days. You only feel imposter syndrome when you are doing something, when you're going for something. And you're not going to hit a home run every time. Me as a basketball player, I didn't hit a home run. Me feeling bad about myself, like, that's definitely not a home run. I continue to swing and miss. So embrace imposter syndrome. Accept the past, learn from the insecurities, and understand that yeah, we're human. It's okay. Give yourself some grace. There's going to be times where you are insecure in situations, but you can look back at these times and learn from these times that, man, everything that I've been through, I've gotten through. This next thing, I'm going to get through it as well.
Yeah, there's a couple things I wrote down there. Accept the past for what it is. And I appreciate that tremendously because, your past is what's brought you to now. You would not be the person you are now if you didn't have those experiences in the past. And it's from that history that you're able to share your story and impact other people. That's my belief. That's what I see in you. That's what I hear from you. And then one of the thoughts I have is this idea of imposter syndrome, is trying to live up to the expectations of others who are just as broken and insecure. And reality is that, as you talked about, it's like when you're the best you, when you're into the process, when you're just like, hey, I'm here to serve people. I'm going to figure out what I can do at the highest level, and I'm going to do it. Then I think you start to develop true confidence with self-awareness to say, hey, you know what? I'm not good at X, Y, and Z, but I'm great at this. And that's what, to me, and this idea of being an impact-driven leader really comes about. It's like when we're able to accept our insecurities. And I believe every single one of us have them. Every single person that walks this earth has an insecurity. And it shows up at times. Mine show up in ways. Yours show up in other ways. And when we can start to recognize those, then all of a sudden, to me, to this point, we start building that real confidence and not false confidence that is, still laden with insecurity or, depths of the low where insecurity is overwhelming us. And I think that's when, to use your words, man, I think that's when you can find a personal breakthrough.
Yeah.
I think that's when it all changes and all of a sudden realize, hey, I'm good enough.
Right. But isn't that what everybody wants to feel? Like, isn't everything just like that's what social media is now. It's like, oh, look how cool I am. Look how many, like, everybody wants to feel what you just said, and yet we're all still trying to put on a front. You know how beautiful the world would be if everybody's just like, you know what, I'm going to be me. And people have told that, like, it's a great compliment that I can get. They're like, dude, you're just you. Like, well, who else can I be? It's so much work if I'm trying to be somebody else. And
it is.
It is. And everybody wants it, but yet we still play into this lie that it's going to be better if we just put up a picture where we smile and hope that everybody thinks we're the best that there is. No. The people you love to be around are the people that you know are going to be fully themselves, that are going to be fully honest. I mean, that's why Brene Brown's vulnerability talk can get 8 zillion views. Why? Because everybody wants it.
To put kind of I don't want to say a wrap on this, but I think it's a good point to say, hey, one of the things that I appreciate about you is, this idea of how can I serve you? We have enough mutual value connections, but I've also recognized this is when I can be in community with people that are willing to accept me for whoever I am with, the varied interests, man, that's when I can be my best. And when I hear from you, when you're in a community, when you're around, guys like John and Ed and so many other people that I know that you're close to in life, and they're like, David, I just appreciate you because you're passionate about what you're passionate about and you have this foundation of values. Dude, let's just go. Because I know if you're blazing that path, I'm only going to be better too by being around it. And I think that's what's so important about leaders is it's not, it doesn't have to be perfect. It is just saying, hey, this is who I am. This is what I am. I'm going to walk that path. And if I do that, that's what's going to lead to a breakthrough. That's what's going to be a breakthrough. And sometimes, again, to use one of our books, we have to go through a process of finding that pivot to where the open spot is so we can go instead of just spinning and spinning and thinking it's going to change. Dude, that's just a tilt-a-whirl, right? Yeah. It's just but that's if I've conceptualized anything that I've gathered from reading your books is that. And it's what I admire about you because I think it's been that personal breakthrough for myself.
Oh, I love that, man. You kind of led it to you make the pivot, okay? And then that's when you lead to the breakthrough. So it's almost like these books were in a line, which I didn't even have to mean so. But you know what? I want to leave you with this too, along those lines. And what I think holds a lot of people back is, and I'm going to bring this back to the philosophical days. So we're going pre-Socratic here. So this is before, and I know what is it? The Stoicism is really hot. Love that. So here we go. So before the Socrates and Aristotle.
Should we put Ryan Holiday on notice so he can take notes here? Because this is probably golden right here. Okay. David Nurse.
Tell him I'm going to
Let's go.
Stoicism on its head. No, his stuff is great. I'm just kidding. I love his books. So before those guys, the Aristotle, Plato, Socrates, there was this term called techne. So techne literally is translated the art of doing. And this is what the people before then, this is what they were focused on. They would embrace and live in this techne. Now, these great thinkers come along and they bring in this word episteme. And episteme is the art of knowledge. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. That's great to have a lot of knowledge. And this is just where kind of all of this philosophy came from. The Stoicism is everything is the art of knowledge, the art of knowing. And if we take a step back and think about it, isn't that what a lot of us are doing? We're taking in these podcasts, we're reading these books, we're learning all this type of stuff. But when it comes down to it, we've completely lost the art of doing. Actually doing. Yes, think, knowledge, think differently, but go do differently. Don't sit on your pedestal on Twitter and just say things. Go do it. Go do something. You have this gift, you have this mission, go do it. Yes, the biggest thing, the most haunting thing that you can live with, if you look back on your life when you're on your deathbed, is if you have a regret. If you have, that is something that will eat away at you. And the only way to not have a regret is just go do. And it's the only way you learn, man. That's the way that makes it fun. So embrace techne. Yes, get all this knowledge, then use it. Go do it. Go teach somebody. Go serve somebody.
I love it. Love it. You're finishing up with go serve people, because to me, that's the best way to act. Is when you're serving someone and you're acting, that's when you really start to know.
Totally.
Because you don't know until then.
100%, man. See, I didn't know I was a philosopher. Now I am.
You are. You got it.
Yeah.
David, thanks for your time, man. Thanks for spending time with me, and appreciate this conversation and just the guy that you are. So thank you, man.
Tyler, honor and a blessing being on here, man. Just to being able to know you over these past few months and how much you're pouring into me. Like, I'll get messages from you. Somebody's like, this guy is exactly who he is, who you think. Like, hey, how can I serve you today? Like, is there like what can I do for you today? You know how many people do that? Next to none. So thank you, Tyler. Thank you for being that person in my life.
Well, appreciate you, David. And until next time, listeners, I hope you guys are able to grab David's books, Pivot and Go, and his latest, releasing right now, Breakthrough. Go grab it. Make sure we have all the details in the show notes. David, thank you again for your time, man.
Appreciate it. Thank you.